In the warp's dark, twisty lanes, where reality's a haze, there's a space marine named Stan, passing the warp time craze. With Bolter at his side and armor shining bright, he's got his Inwarp Mag to read by warp light. Oh, Stan's reading Inwarp Mag in the warp's wild dance, with tales of warp, beast, and heroes' daring stands. In the chaos of the warp, where time and space do sag, Stan's just a space marine enjoying Inwarp Mag. There's an article on Bolters and one on Shane's word care, a spread on Xeno's fashion.
Welcome back to another edition of Inwarp Mag. It's like we never left. I am Brooke, joined as always by my co-host Drew.
Hey everybody, we're happy to be back.
Definitely. After a new year, new us, new Inwarp Mag, we're back and coming back to talk about our New Year's resolutions.
Yeah, definitely a new me. All new. 2025, baby. Let's go.
2025 came and smacked us in the face. But we're back, and it's been a while, but we missed you.
Yeah, we've been on
And-
like a 3-month hiatus, basically.
Yeah.
Um,
The
go ahead.
kind of end of October kind of took it out of us, and then the holidays came around, and things just got really busy between both of us. But we're back. We're back in January, coming back, trying to come back strong, and we have lots to talk about in kind of 2024 in retro, and kind of looking forward to 2025 and what you guys can expect.
Yeah, like a 2025 Warhammer New Year's resolution type video.
Almost exactly that, actually.
Yeah, it's not like we planned that that's what we're going to talk about exactly.
Well, I don't know about you, but I think we should talk about our 2025 resolutions.
Yeah, should we start with? I think before we plan on what we're going to do for 2025, we have to do a nice retrospective and look back on
right.
2024. So
2024 was good.
yeah.
It was good to us.
So what do you have? What are some of the highlights for your 2024 in Warhammer, Brooke?
Yeah, I mean, I just want to give kudos all around to everybody on this podcast and the guests that we've had. Is that we started the podcast. I think
a
that's
big step.
huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have really enjoyed being on this podcast with you, and I really enjoy us being able to talk about 40K and try to be positive in this 40K environment. So, don't want to stick on that too long and pat ourselves on the back too hard, but starting the podcast, I think, has been a pretty cool thing for 2024.
Yeah, for me, I think it's the army goals. So we talked about being new to Warhammer 40K and wanting to get into the game, and I feel like, at least for me personally, I think you would probably feel the same, is I got to play the game basically to the extent that I've wanted to so far. We're still not playing it like at full capacity yet because we're kind of still finding our niche. I guess for you, you're still waiting for your codex.
Right, yeah.
But, I've played a couple of detachments. I'm getting a third detachment ready at this point. So, like, a lot has happened for me since our last episode even released, where I was just playing Warhorde mainly. I painted a ton of minis, and I've just had a ton of fun in the game.
Yeah, I would say you've painted more than me.
I have
built,
to.
I've built and not painted more than you.
Mhm.
I've going along with that, one of my favorite things that I accomplished for painting and in the hobby side is that I got Bjorn done.
Mhm.
He is my favorite unit in the game, like by far. I love Bjorn. I like his lore. And getting him done was one of my big projects that I kind of put forward this year. And getting him done and completed, based, painted, and I put a nice base on him. I put him on this like big rock,
Mhm.
and I got the snow base and everything. And I'm super happy with that. I'm so happy with how he turned out. I have some other things that I've painted during the year, and most recently actually we just had a 2v3 game last weekend, and it was a blast. And one of the things I painted for that was a Terminator squad, and it's my first Terminator squad, and I am so happy with how they turned out. And I feel like I've elevated some of the the painting stuff that I've done for Space Wolves at this point, because it's kind of been getting a little monotonous. Because Space Wolves armor, you painted Space Wolf gray, and you do the yellow shoulder and whatever other shoulder you want to do. But then I tried to do like more weathering, and I tried a few different things, and I'm so proud of how they turned out too. So like hobby stuff, I haven't painted as much as you, but there's been some really, really cool things that I've been able to accomplish.
Yeah, I have to look back at my shelf behind me to remember everything I've painted. So everybody's seen, if you check out the channel updates, I did post a picture of Gaz on there, so you guys can see how he looks in all of his glory. I'm really happy with how he turned out. I've played, I think, 2 or 3 games with him already. Very happy with him as a unit. He's a boss. Let's see, what else do I got back there? I have 3 war bosses now. One of them being the one I picked up at Adepticon and turned that Uftehawk,
Oh, right.
whatever his name is, into a war boss. I also have 2 of the old school war boss with attack squigs, and I painted them with like distinctly different styles because I've been painting everything pretty much in Evil Sons. It's kind of fun when you get that redundancy in certain units, and you're like, okay, I've already painted a bunch of Evil Sons, so time to paint this one something different. And like painting, I think the third war boss I painted him more like goth style, black and like white and red, pretty cool looking. I'm very happy with him. It's kind of funny because his little attack squig is probably the best looking thing on his model. Like nobody should spend that much time on the attack squig, I guess, but
He looks great though.
yeah, it looks beautiful. I think this was in 2024, but I started getting into Dread Mob. I've painted some Killicans. I painted them Evil Sons colors, of course, and a Death Dread Evil Sons colors. These were some things that were sitting in my pile of shame too, so that was like nice to get that off of my back too.
And you kind of elevated your weathering techniques that you used. You should talk about that.
Yeah, so I've been, and Ninjon, he's probably frowning upon me when I say this. But I don't paint all of the chips myself because I'm not. I'll be nice. I won't say anything beyond that. I don't paint my own paint chips. I hairspray after. So like, what I do is I prime my model, then I get out the dry brush, and I don't look up any dry brushing videos on how I'm doing it wrong because I know I'm doing it wrong, and I just want to keep doing it as wrong as I am. And I dry brush the whole model like a lead belcher. Silver, if you're not familiar with the GW paint lingo. Anyways, or Citadel, whatever the heck. Anyways,
GW.
Yeah, GW Citadel. Paint it, dry brush it silver, then I'll dry brush it like a rust color. So like I'll layer on brown and like an orange, and it actually will get like a really nice looking rust effect. Sometimes when you paint on that orange, you'll be like, "Oh, I made a mistake. This looks really bad." And then when it dries, you're like, "Oh no, this actually looks really good." And then all of that work that you did, you're gonna spray the whole thing with hairspray. And you're going to say, hairspray? Why am I spraying it with hairspray? Because...
But they make chipping medium for that, is what
Yeah.
people would say.
But you can buy hairspray in a small little bottle that has lasted me... This one small bottle has lasted me this entire time painting like, I don't know, like 7 minis or something like that, 8 minis.
Large minis.
Large minis. And basically, so you hairspray the whole thing, you let it dry, and then using your airbrush, you paint it your base coat color, which is red for me. And then when you're done, you basically let that dry, take water on a brush, and you just like paint it with water. And what's going to happen is wherever the red is a thinner layer. It's going to just kind of like dissolve the hairspray underneath, and it's going to look like paint chips when that dissolves, because there's nothing for that red to like cling on to as far as the paint goes. So it looks like paint chips, and underneath you'll see your rust and silver color that you did all that airbrushing, all that dry brushing work on. So it's pretty cool effect.
Yeah, it looks really nice.
Yeah,
It
it's
turns
really
out really
easy.
nice. Yeah, it's super easy. I haven't done it on mine, but
Very
the way that
long-winded
you
explanation, but I highly recommend it if you want to like take your vehicles to the next level with as little effort as possible. And people will be like, "Wow, did you do this?" And you're like, "Yeah, I did it with hairspray."
yeah, I didn't think about it. I did it.
I didn't purposefully place any of these; it just happened.
Yeah, and it looks intentional, which is good. And if you guys are interested in any of that, like hobby tips and stuff, let us know. But there are people on YouTube that probably do it a little bit better than us. But if you do want to see us give some tutorials on painting, we'll get to that a little bit later when we talk about our content resolutions. But if you want to see any of that stuff, let us know.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Painting larger things like that is definitely one of my prouder moments for the year, because those are models that I'm always most nervous about painting, and then
right.
actually getting it done over the finish line feels really good, especially not just getting it over the finish line, but getting it on the table, because that's always the most important part, I think, in our channel's opinion, is getting the things on the table to play with them, even if it's not painted.
Right.
Sorry for smacking my mic, everybody.
You're, I will apologize for you, everybody. We're sorry. All right. Anyways, I want to get to some of the personal highlights that I have. Mine are a lot of experiential stuff, I guess. Like it's not so much like I feel like I did fine in my own personal highlights there, but some stuff that like in our hobby group, some things that I'm very very proud of is that we got Bill and Bear, who are welcome guests to this podcast. We got them into 40K and they love it, and we all love 40K. We all play 40K together, and I'm so happy that we got them into 40K. We've expanded our group. Then we added another one of our friends who we won't say his name on the podcast because we haven't got permission to have him on the podcast or to share his name, but
As soon as he's a
um,
guest, you'll know his
you'll
name.
know him immediately. But we added another one of my friends to the 40K group, and it's been great. We've got 5 people now, a close kind of a pretty close knit group, and that's who we played our 2v3 with this past weekend.
Mm-hmm.
It was a great time.
Should we talk about what we did this past weekend too? I think that kind of is the, I don't know, the climax of our 2024, even though it happened in 2025, but still.
Yeah, it goes along with all this, having our nice hobby group that we've all gotten together and kind of celebrated it. Do you want to go ahead and explain?
Yeah, so we decided as a play group, and maybe as a good way to buy ourselves new minis without, significant others or anyone questioning your purchase, we decided to do a Grotmas gift exchange with our hobby / gaming group. And essentially we just did like a white elephant gift exchange with all the guys in the play group, and we were able to get, a new box of minis to paint for our army. It's like a good excuse to get receive a gift of something you want, as well as give something to the friends in your play group. So it was a fun time. We got together, we did the gift exchange, and it's all Warhammer themed stuff. I got a couple of books that I've been wanting that are there's like,
They're on their way still.
yeah, Brutal but Cunning, I think, is one, and War
Brutal and
Boss.
cunning
Yeah.
and War Boss. Yep.
Yeah, so
Yeah, I had Drew in the gift exchange.
I had the
Uh,
person I can't name.
yeah. And what'd you get him? What'd you get him?
So I got him. It's like the Tormentor. So he's into Slanesh
Yep.
demons, and I got him like the Tormentor thing or something. It's like this giant meteor looking thing, pretty cool
Yeah,
looking.
it's sweet. It is a sweet model.
I got him a score tracker thing that
All
is
right.
Slaanesh themed. It hasn't arrived yet either because it was ordered on Etsy. So,
Yeah,
um,
in early December.
yeah, so you got to take your time with those things. It's fine. It's cool when it's in your play group. I think
Yeah.
everybody understands like when they're ordering that sort of stuff that Etsy's going to take forever, but it's Slaanesh themed. It's like purple with I asked them to engrave like the Slaanesh Demons logo on the scorekeeper, so that'll look really cool. And I also got him some of the like base color paint, Citadel paint for the
Oh yeah.
demon, Slaanesh Demon's flesh.
I will say if you guys don't have one of those score trackers, they're totally worth having. Whether you get like a one from Amazon or you get like a custom one, score tracker is definitely worth it. Definitely if you have a group of guys and you want to upgrade your group and what accessories that you have, it's
Mm-hmm.
worthwhile considering getting some score trackers.
Yeah, so we also have a 5-man group now,
Mm.
5-person group now, man or woman. You don't know. You don't know
I
who
want to
this other person
before
is.
we go on from the gifts, I just want to shout out Bill. He had me for the gift
Yeah.
exchange, and him getting me the codex. It was the 5th edition Space Wolves codex. I like collecting some old codexes, even though we
Mm-hmm.
started in 10th edition. That is such a cool gift. I like shout out to him for buying that for me. I put it on my list. I wasn't sure if it was going to be bought, but he knew that I would love that. He told me he was like, when I saw that on the list, that was the first thing I bought.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to him. That
Yeah.
was a great gift. I love that. The art is so cool. I just love I love the old codexes.
Yeah, I really like just touching on that again. It's cool that we're all into Warhammer at this point because you could have gotten that as a gift a year ago and you would have
Hmm.
been like, what the heck is this? And you would not have given a crap. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
But I mean, you would have been like, oh, cool. Like, yeah, I like Warhammer. And you would have looked at it and been polite and stuff. But now it's just like, after you got
I was
that,
like psyched.
well, not just you were psyched, but everybody was like, oh, let's go through it together and look at it. Like, we're all
Yeah.
sitting around your kitchen table and looking at an old 5th edition codex, which is, I don't know, it's really cool to like share that love of the game together and really get into it. But anyways, we also continuing forward after the gift exchange, we did a 3,000 point um sort
2v3.
of sort of doubles game, yeah, 2v3,
Yeah.
and we played on the larger board since it's 3,000 point,
Yeah.
and me and Brooke
44 by 90.
mhm, me and Brooke were teamed up and we were running our usual orcs and space wolves versus Astra Militarum, Dark Angels, and Slaanesh Demons. So it was a fun game. It was really
Yeah.
close.
It was fun for most people. In the spirit of Grotmas, I tried the new Space Wolves detachment. I was kind of talked into it by certain people online that like, oh yeah, give it a try. It could be really fun. I can confirm that it's not good, and it felt like I didn't have an army rule the entire game.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if I'll play that until it gets errated. I think it's going to get errated, but
Yeah, but still, I want to say though, like our Grotmas was a lot of fun.
yes, it
The
was.
GW Grotmas was also a lot of fun. I loved following
Oh,
that all the way through Christmas season.
I remember back in, I think it was October, GW came out and were like, we're not going to come out with any more codexes for the rest of the year. And people were like, oh, GW is going to do nothing for the rest of the year. And then they dropped Grotmas and it was like a nuke. It was just like yeah, like, check this out. We're going to come out with 24 detachments or more. Because like certain days they came out with multiple. It was like,
Mm-hmm.
here's 28 new detachments. It was awesome. It was so cool. I loved that.
Yeah, I'm really happy with the new orc detachment too because I'm sure like every orc player's super happy with it because um one in the index we had Captain Badrock and he was just kind of one of the bad A's in our index and then he went to legends, so rip. but they basically brought him back in the tactical brigade, which everybody was super excited about. So I hope like people who went out and bought Captain Badrock for the index and haven't really been able to use them other than in like casual games, you can I would assume you could use him as like a proxy for a big mech with the shock attack gun. So that's really cool that we have that in our arsenal again.
That's cool. Yeah, that detachment is super cool, and I'm glad that they added that for orcs. It felt like you were kind of one dimensional. There was some shooting options like Def Dread or Dread Mob, but most everything else was like all melee focused. But then they like gave you something that you could actually run a more shooty DACA style army.
It's kind of funny because we were talking about after our game, you went to the new detachment, the Champions of
Fenris.
And then I basically was like low-key Champions of Rust detachment where I could basically choose my ability whenever I wanted.
Yeah, the Dread Mob, low-key, kind of awesome. It was sweet to see. It clutched our entire side. I didn't do much in the game, unfortunately. Murderfang went off, but other than that, nothing else really did anything.
Oh, I don't know how I forgot to mention this, but I bought a Gorkanaut and built and painted that for our game, so that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that Gork was pretty cool. You were a little disappointed at first because he was going up against the Lion, didn't really do as much as we had kind of thought he would. But then he was able to kind of clean him up.
Though.
Yeah, he's going up against the Lion, which is a 3-up invuln. It's silly, you know. It's like I don't know, nothing can kill him very easily.
It was hilarious because he hit him pretty hard, and I think he had 2 wounds left. And then I walked up with 3 cans, and they just swiped him right off the board.
Right, the cans killed him.
Yeah, who would have thought that would have worked?
He did like 7 wounds. Didn't you bring him down to 1?
I think so. You had done
I did
2
wounds. with the blood claws and Ulrich.
Yeah, I mean it was like disappointing at first, but then it basically just decimated the Lion and Poor Bear's Terminators.
Yeah.
But you know, we had a lot on our side that he was going up into, so it wasn't just like the Gork. It was the Gork. It was the Killicans. It was the big mech with the shock attack gun and all of his Ludas, and there was a lot he was going into. So it took like a good third of our army to deal with Bear.
Yeah, that game was so much fun. Like maybe in the future we can bring in the guys and we can all talk about it a little bit more, but the 2v3 format, we were a little worried about it. We kind of made up a map. I based it on a Pariah Nexus Crusade book, one of the missions in there. It's the one that has like the diagonal long board edge deployment, and we kind of modified the mission a little bit to make it work. But it was a ton of fun. I would recommend if people are in an awkward number like that, like 5, to give it a try. It's super fun, and nobody's sitting out, and you can all have fun together.
Yeah, I think that's the most important, is not having somebody watch, because the game is so long. We started at like 3, maybe.
I think we started at 4:30,
and we didn't.
By the time we got set up
till like midnight. But
yeah,
it was like essentially scooping at midnight because we're all dead tired.
Yeah.
And we were
Bear was literally sleeping.
Yeah, Bear was eliminated, and he's like, I'm just gonna chillax on the sofa over here.
He was sitting on my couch and he was snoozing. It was pretty funny.
All right. Before our audience starts snoozing, we should really get into the New Year's resolution stuff.
I just wanted to highlight a couple things before we move on.
Yeah.
I love that I have a consistent hobby group, and I know that you're farther away, and unfortunately you can't join us. But one of the nicest things about 2024 was having a consistent hobby group and having game nights with Bill and Bear and now our other friend. That we have our Tuesday nights are typically go over and hang out for a few hours and listen to music and hobby. And then we'll get together on Saturdays when it is open, and we'll get to play games. And the most that we've played so far has been boarding actions, and that's another thing that I accomplished this year. Is I printed and finished a whole boarding actions set. It was like it's all magnetized, and it makes setup for boarding actions so much faster. And boarding actions is something that I really like, and now we all really like because we'll play multiplayer boarding actions. And I would highly recommend people check out boarding actions if they haven't already. You play fast. You can try out new armies. I've tried out a bunch of new armies in boarding actions. But yeah, it's definitely worth checking out. Um, so yeah, I think that's basically what I wanted to talk about. Is that just having that consistent hobby group. If you guys don't have one, try to find one. It's awesome. Once you find it, it's really special, and don't let it go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, even though I'm further away and can't join you guys regularly, it's definitely a ton of fun. And every time we get together to do like a game night all together, so it's a good time.
Yeah, definitely. So let's go on to the challenges and areas of improvement.
So we're
So
doing our New Year's resolutions now.
it's kind of just I mean, we're still reflecting on 2024 here. I guess like what challenges and areas of improvement did you like? Could you have had in 2024? Like, what challenges do you have that you can improve upon in 2025? I guess
I
I'll go first if you want.
Yeah, go ahead.
So for me, it's finishing minis that I started painting. I have a ton of minis that I've primed, and then I paint their base wolves armor color, and then I don't finish them. Or I finish painting them and I put most of the basing stuff on, and then I haven't done the snow effect yet. Like I have a bunch of stuff that's like it's like 50% or like 80% or like 90%, and I just need to finish what I have in front of me instead of
Mm-hmm.
moving on to the next thing. I have a habit of when we play with an army, we are total advocates for play with what you have, no matter what painting state they're in. And I've like created something, built something, and I'll play with it, and then I don't necessarily like it after that one game, and then I'll just leave it half painted in my pile of shame. And
Mm-hmm.
I just need to finish those things. If I can finish those things, that'll be a huge improvement.
For mine, it's like I don't know what the equivalent of writer's block is for hobbying, but I'll have something that's ready to go and I just won't start it because it's almost like I know how much work it's going to be and I'll have
Hmm.
like excuses in my head of like why I can't start it because I'll think like, "Oh, I want to try this new technique or I want to find something a unique paint style to base it off of for inspiration. Like I want my commandos to be purple because purple is a sneaky color, but I gotta find a
Yeah,
good purple. I don't want their skin to be purple. I want their skin to be green. Is there a cool pants combo where the pants are purple? And so it's just like I need to like get that writer's block. Uh,
like
try
analysis paralysis, I guess. And wouldn't that is that kind of what it is?
Yeah, basically. So like I have some slap chopped commandos that have been sitting near my hobby area for like a year that I haven't done anything with. So I'm starting to paint them now. So like I that's something I need to work on is I think everybody knows from if you've listened to past videos, I don't like having a pile of shame and I want to like work on mind over matter conquering my pile of shame.
Yeah, definitely. That takes us neatly into hobby resolutions. So, like finishing our piles of shame is definitely one of those. I will never finish my pile of shame. I'll probably die before I do. But my in progress stuff I want to finish. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and then the second aspect of that is I want to try to expand into a second army so that when we do have these like doubles nights or I play on Saturday with the guys, I want to have options that I can be like, oh, today I want to play Space Wolves because I want to go back to my roots, or I want to play agents. I either want to play I want either want to expand into agents or Tau.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I want to have that second army that I can kind of bounce back and forth with. I like Tau a lot as an option because it's so different than Space Wolves. Um, but yeah, I would like to have and it would help me with my pile of shame. It kind of goes hand in hand. But I want to get to building and painting a second army.
Yeah, I hear that because that's kind of what I've been working on now. Is I've been fairly, I don't know if you would say stale, but I've mostly been playing the same detachment, and it's not like Warhorde is good, but it's pretty, um, I don't know. It's
Standard.
yeah, you kind of telegraph your move. You're really going to be trying to get into melee in
Yeah.
Warhorde. There's like a few combos you can go off with for shooting, but it's mostly a melee detachment. So like Dread Mob is something I've gotten into. So I want to keep expanding into Dread Mob because it feels so much different than Warhorde. And then I really like the sound of the new Tactical Brigade too. So I'll probably start flexing into that. And I think that will be good as far as modeling without me breaking the bank, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. I
Uh,
think one of the things I've learned this year with not getting my codex yet is I should have a second army on deck that when their codex, assuming that they don't come out back to back, like what are the chances of that? But
mhm.
having that second army on deck, because Tau, their codex is out and they have some cool stuff to play with. It would be nice to have a second army so that when I do get sick of playing Champions of Russ, which I get it, I have Space Marines. I can play all the other Space Marine chapter or detachments, right? I can play the Iron Fists detachment, but I want to play Space Wolves, and I really like Champions of Russ as like a
Mhm.
thematic Space Wolves detachment, but I would like to expand into that second army just so I have different play styles. I want to try different play styles. I've mostly been a very melee pressure army style, and expanding that would be pretty cool.
Yeah, I think I have the benefit of having enough different playstyles because my codex is out, so I don't feel the need to expand into a second army. So, sorry to maybe disappoint Bill. I don't know if I'll be getting into Thousand Suns for 2025 or not. Probably
It
not.
could be a next edition thing when you have more of your orcs painted.
Yeah, like I have all the orcs I could ever want, and
Right.
now I need to change it up. But orcs are my first love and my one true love, so it's going to take a lot for me to want to get off of orcs, I think.
Yeah, that makes sense. I kind of feel that with Space Wolves. I feel like I'm betraying them when I go and try something else a little bit.
Oh yeah, I would completely feel that way. I if I go to like something else, especially if it was like a space marine thing, I would just feel like a giant fraud.
Oh my god, you and Space Marines. God.
Well, I've been talking crap about them for so long. I'm like, I can't go to space marines now.
I just need you to play Space Marine 2 and then you'll be a total fraud.
I mean, I'll play space marine too. I mean, speaking of playing Warhammer games, period, we've been doing a lot of that, and it's like I'm
Yeah.
playing as Astra Mili- not as Astra Militarum.
Ass.
I play like ass, but uh, been playing as Astra Militarum, and that's fun. But the character
Yeah.
I play as is basically the most orky character you can be.
Yeah, we played Dark Tide and Drew's an Ogren.
uh,
So
I'm
he's a
basically an
big
orc
dumb
human.
idiot.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, that's like my hobby goals, like my painting and modeling goals. What's
The
next?
I mean, the only thing that I would add to mine is, and I have a lot of goals here. The only thing I would add is I want to get my own terrain set built and or buy it and paint it myself or whatever. I want to get my own terrain set so so I can stop asking you and Bill to bring your terrain over.
hmm You know, one thing while we're talking about like painting and modeling that I do want to touch on is painting specifically is I use a lot of the same painting techniques like constantly because I've
Yeah.
learned a few things that work well for me, like doing the whole slap chop technique, which,
Hmm.
I use all the techniques that people frown upon. Um, whatever. They work for me, but I do want to learn like some new things because I feel like my skills have gotten a little bit stale where if I want to do anything outside of that, like airbrushing stuff, I'm still very uncomfortable with that. I haven't done like anything with NMM, non-metallic
Yeah,
metals.
same.
I haven't done anything with like with basing and stuff. I barely do anything as far as what I already know, which half the time is just putting some Elmer's glue on the base and then just like dipping it in rocks. So like
Hey,
I do very
it
basic
looks good
stuff.
though.
It does look good. It looks fine, but sometimes you go to Adepticon, you see like the Golden Demon stuff and the stuff they do with their bases. You're like, if I could do like 10% of that, my model would look amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, I
So,
tried to elevate my basing game a little bit with my snow bases,
mhm.
and it has made it harder to complete my minis. But when they're done, they look really good, in my opinion. It's my taste. I obviously came up with the recipe myself because I really liked it, but
Mhm.
I really like my basing recipe once it's done.
Mhm. Yeah, I don't know how you feel about learning the new painting techniques, but I feel like, we do have a plan for it this year. I don't know if we'll talk about all that in this episode because it'll get really long, but
Yeah.
in
No, I
general, like expanding painting techniques because it if you just kind of like it's kind of like if you learn an instrument, you might learn like a few songs, you might learn a few chords, and if you don't expand beyond that initial set of things that you learn, your skills will never expand. So I
right.
want to get out of that and just being like content with like this is all I'm ever going to be. I'm never going to be any better than this. Like I don't like accepting that. I want to get better.
No, I completely agree. I actually, one of the things that I want to get into more in 2025, and this is something I just kind of dabbled in, and I actually kind of did a little bit with it on my Terminators, is I want to get more into the like grim dark, like very gritty looking minis.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I love that style, and I know some people don't like it because it kind of looks like just a brown blob on the table, like you can't really see a ton of like bright details. But man, they look so cool when they're done, and that's something I want to get into. And it requires a bunch of different skills, and a
Mm-hmm.
lot of it actually comes down to like oil and enamel washes and how you utilize those and weathering techniques. I really want to expand my weathering technique skill set. So yeah, like there's hobby stuff that I want to get into that I want to expand on too, and I think that's probably one of the main ones.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in general, it's like getting to the point where something that turns out good doesn't feel accidental, and you're just like,
Hmm.
yeah, I did this because I have these skills and I know how to do it at this point. And I know like other people who are just getting into this hobby, they'd probably look at some of the minis we've done and they'd be like, "Oh my gosh, that's so good." And it's just you'll get
You
to
have
this
imposter
point
syndrome
too.
a little bit though, don't you? Like I
Yeah.
do.
Yeah, I'm like I learn half of what I do based off of watching YouTube videos or looking at somebody else's paint job in a
Right.
Google image and just like trying to copy
Mimic
that.
it.
hmm So, I'd like to be able to do stuff on my own and just be comfortable. I want to do wet blending for this because I think it would look
Right.
good, and you use wet blending to do this type of thing because I know what the hell wet blending is. Um, but yeah.
Yeah, we have, you alluded to it earlier, but we do have plans on kind of expanding our skill sets, and we'll talk about that at a later date, I think.
hmm
So let's move on to our gaming resolutions. So I kind of already touched on this a little bit, but I want to try new detachments, and my codex will come out this year, and I think it's supposed to. Rumors are that it'll come on the first half of the year, so I'll be excited to play new detachments with Space Wolves.
hmm
But I think the most important part that I want to do is I want to play different styles. I want to try to expand my like gaming style because I've done, like I said, mostly melee pressure armies.
hmm
And if I could expand that a little bit and maybe get good at shooting and positioning and like objective play and like just trying all sorts of different styles on that, I think that would be a lot of fun.
hmm For me, I think I mostly play. I don't feel super comfortable yet with doing my own thing as far as list building goes. A lot of this, and I think this is a problem for anybody who does list building. Is there's so much information out there of other lists that people have run. You can look up tournaments and what people are running. I don't really look up tournaments or anything, but I do follow people on YouTube who will talk about like really good combinations and stuff like that. I haven't ever really felt comfortable with like looking at just units and going, this combination I think is really good and I want to run it, even though I don't see a YouTube video where a guy says, this is a really good combination, you should put it in your army and use it for this thing. I used to do that a lot more with Star Wars Legion because I felt
Yes.
so much more comfortable with the game, where I had like what I would consider one of my baby units in the game because I was obsessed with it. And I'm like, this thing is really good in my eyes. Like I can do this, this, and this with it, and it can be really good in the game, even though everybody hates it. It might not be as easy in Warhammer because sometimes when something is bad, it's just bad, is something we've been learning. It might be harder to do, but I would still like to discover something that's maybe like I'd like to dabble into stuff that's a little more off meta and try it. But it's so hard when we like, for me, having more limited games than you do because I don't get to hobby as much. It's like
Right.
painful to be like, you know what? I'm not going to take a beast boss and beast snega boys, even though they wreck everything anytime I take them. Like I freaking love those guys.
Yeah.
Same with like a war boss and knobs. Like I always want to take them, and it's so tempting to take those sorts of things. But I want to like, let's try, I don't know, a big mech with the bubble chuckas, like the mech guns or whatever. Like let's try that out.
I think you kind of already did it so far in our 2v3. I mean, you tried a whole new detachment. You didn't take Beast Boys or Beast Snagga Boys. You didn't take knobs, and it was definitely out of your comfort zone for sure.
Yeah, like the unit, I don't really like taking large units either, and I took a big blob of 20 boys that were led by a big mech and a war boss because
Turned out to be a good call.
yeah, I mean that thing, it was like a 360 point unit or something once you like add in the leaders and the enhancements and stuff that I had on it. And that thing dealt with Shalaxi. It almost wiped out Lord Solar's unit in one fights phase.
Yeah, it was infantry squad, command squad, plus solar, and it killed everything except for left solar on one wound.
Yeah, so they did work. I was really happy with that unit, but the nice thing was like the mobility that the big mech granted it. But more stuff like that, I think, I don't know, we've talked about it in previous videos. That's one of the things I thrive off of in like games like this. I really like looking into the meta and then just like finding interesting things to play. And I don't know, I just get like a nice I don't know, it's very fulfilling when I find something that works well that I don't feel like the rest of the community is running because one of the leaders of the faction, you know, that on YouTube says you should run this thing because it's really good and you run it only for that reason.
Yeah, I totally relate to that because I don't know if you remember this, but we were talking before our 2v3, and we were talking about whether I should run the Champions of Fenris. And you sent me a screenshot of their win rate currently at that time, and it was 28%. And I was like, well, you're just making me want to play this detachment more because I want to make it work, right? I want to be the person who's like, oh, yeah, I can make it work. And I make it good. You know, I want to try to make that detachment playable.
It's like,
and
this
that's something
detachment's 28%, but I win at a 58% rate.
Right. Like it makes you feel good when you're like, I'm as a player playing well enough that, you know, I'm making this detachment work that where other people are not seeing the combos or whatever. Like I know maybe that sounds like a big ego thing, but like back when we played Star Wars Legion, when I switched over to Rebels, they were the worst faction in the game. They were easily the worst faction in the game at the time that I switched over to them. I was Empire. They were horrible, and then they got really good. And then I started building my second army, which was Rebels, and I switched over Rebels when they were trash, and I made them actually quite good. I found a combo that I really, really liked. And then eventually, actually, the community started playing that combo, very similar combo. And I loved that. I love trying to find those like hidden gems in a otherwise unplayed detachment in this case, or army in Star Wars Legion case. So I wanted to make it work, but I think like you said, there are some times where things are just bad. And unfortunately, no matter what you do, it just doesn't add up to a very good army, it feels like. And I understand it's one game with this detachment that I played with, but it just
It very much
I
felt like your opponents were in control. They're like, how
yes.
far away do I have to be from you for you not to get that charge? 6 inches?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll be 6.1 inches away from you.
Right. It's like, oh, that 6 inches doesn't feel like anything when you're on a 44 by 90 board. It's
Mm-hmm.
like I understand we're on a bigger board, but it still didn't feel like anything. And even in the like close quarters things that I was in, it's like whenever somebody got within 3 inches of me, they charged me. So it's like, okay, like I'm already in melee. I'm not going to be able to countercharge. And then that's when I was talking about like, oh, maybe I need to do buddy system. And anyways, we're kind of
Mm-hmm.
getting into the weeds of that. But like, I guess along with that, like kind of in that same lane, I wrote this down in my notes before we started, but this is perfect tie-in. Is I don't want to let competitiveness win over the rule of cool, and we've talked about rule of cool a lot on this podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I want to try to let rule of cool influence my list building more so than competitiveness. I know combos that work in my army, and I know things that are really good, and I know things that I've used in the past that I know are going to be efficient on the board. Like I know things that are going to combo off,
Mm-hmm.
but I want to let like rule of cool dictate my army, because then when I play it, I'll feel like I have ownership over it.
Mm-hmm.
Like I feel like if I run a bog standard Space Wolves list that is all built for competitive, I feel like I'm again like I feel like I'm playing a bog standard competitive list that doesn't have any heart, doesn't have any soul to it. But if I build something that I'm like, oh, I want to build Ragnar. I want to build a Ragnar list that has drop pods on it because in the lore he likes drop pods. I want to build a Ragnar drop pod list for whatever reason.
Mm-hmm.
But if I build that list, I will have more fun with that because I came up with this idea and it's kind of lore based, right? I'll have a little bit more fun with it, and so that's kind of what I mean when I don't want to let competitiveness win over the rule of
Mm-hmm.
cool.
Yeah, that's kind of what I've been trying to do more lately, like with switching over to Dread Mob. If people followed at the very beginning of this podcast, I talked about doing Cult of Speed, and I it's still the coolest thing in my mind is the Cult of Speed, but it's so bad and it would be
Yeah.
so expensive to get into. I'm probably not going to get into that this edition, which makes me a little sad because like the Mad Max style vehicles is what I'm really into. But
They are super cool.
yeah, I can like flex into that a little bit. So I've been adding units to my collection that I think could work in several different detachments, like Def Coptas. They're pretty cool. I like the trucks. I like, even though it's not part of Cold of Speed, like the Battle Wagon. I always think it's a cool unit, especially
Hmm.
that it can have like 22 models inside of it, riding inside of it. That's a cool premise to me. But yeah, like switching over to Dread Mob, I was like, yeah, Killicans are cool. Yeah, Def Dread is cool. Yeah, Gorkanaut, that's cool. Like, who doesn't want a big stompy guy like that?
Yeah.
I probably won't go as far as the Stompa because I don't even know where I'll store it. But
Yeah. On top of your shelf.
I don't even know if it'll fit on top of my shelf in my
Wait,
current room.
really? What?
I don't know.
How big is that
I have
thing?
no idea. It looks humongous, but I'm assuming if it's bigger than a Gorkanaut, like I don't know where to put my
Yeah.
Gorkanaut right now. But yeah,
Yeah.
definitely like rule of cool is the way to go. And if you only play a competitive list and it doesn't have like your heart and soul in it, when your competitive list starts losing for any reason in a game, it feels much more bad because you're just like, oh, like I was only playing this because it was supposed to be good competitively and it sucks.
Right.
Um,
It's like, am I the problem?
yeah, versus if you play something you really like, you could be getting your teeth kicked in and be picking all your models up off of the board, but you're just going to be like, oh, like I'm having fun anyways. Like I've wanted to play these units and I'm actually getting to play with them.
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of the headspace that I want to get to. And I tried to be in that headspace for a 2v3 when I was getting my teeth kicked in. There was a couple times when I got kind of annoyed when certain things were dying, but
Mm-hmm.
I tried to still have fun. It was fun to watch your army go off. Your army was going off, and that was cool. And I started to just trying to have fun with it. It's like, oh, my guys aren't going to do anything, so I'll just get mine out of the way. And it was just
Mm-hmm.
like, I was just trying to get my stuff to do something over the game. But it was really fun to watch everybody else's armies kind of going off and doing cool things.
Yeah, one thing we talked about a lot in the middle of our game too is like trades and stuff. And I think
Hmm.
that's a good thing. Like if you are just getting into playing competitive or just playing period and you're trying to like understand what went well, what went bad, is like during the game we were talking about kind of planning on like, oh, what could this trade with? Like, do I want to do this? Do I want to make this decision in the game? And we go, well, that would be a pretty good trade if it worked out, and it could work out too. and
Right.
and a lot of things weren't working out for you, unfortunately. But Murderfang traded up pretty well.
Yeah, he traded up big time. He's a 170 point unit, and he traded up for like, I think it was like 350 points or something like that. So he
Mm-hmm.
basically paid double of, for what his cost was.
And it wasn't like out of a result of a mistake or anything. He just did work.
Yeah.
He kind of made up for the cold dice of the Predator and like other things. Bjorn just getting
One
demolished.
shot. Yeah,
Yeah.
one shot off the board by Shalaxi, which is crazy.
Uh-huh. So, it felt bad for you to lose all that stuff, but like focusing on this worked out really well. Like how do I
Hmm.
how do I replicate this across my army? Sometimes you can't, but it's good to focus on those things and actually understanding like what did go well, because sometimes it can feel like something did well, but you're maybe just like, oh yeah, my Gorkanaut should just wipe out a unit of Gretchen. Like, yeah, it wiped them all out in one hit, but like it's a 40-point unit blocking a Gorkanaut.
Right. It's going to sit there for 2 turns, killing all the Gretchen. Is that worth it?
Mm-hmm. You're like, it feels good that he's indestructible, but something about this feels bad, and I can't quite put my finger on it.
Yeah, like focusing on the positives of a game, even when you are getting your teeth kicked in, like I was. And it's funny that I was getting my teeth kicked in, but we were talking about it a little bit afterwards, and Murderfang did work, and Murderfang was really, really good in that game. God
Mm-hmm.
bless him. Thank God, and Murderfang gave me something to kind of be like, yeah, I want to try to replicate that in the future. But we were talking about like Bjorn, and I had a Wolfendread that just got annihilated. But when we were talking about it, it was like, okay, Bjorn got killed by Shalaxi. Shalaxi is like a 400 and I don't know,
25.
425 point unit, and it killed 190 point Bjorn. And then your boys walked over and beat to death Shalaxi. So Shalaxi traded a 425 point unit for a 190 point unit, and then you walloped it.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, you know what? The aggro that Bjorn took was maybe worth it.
Mm-hmm.
Even though he died immediately, it was maybe worth it because it let your army do what it needed to do on the Wa turn.
Mm-hmm.
And my army took literally like every shot. I think at like the first turn, it took like everything. The Wolf and Dread, Bill moves his Dorn up, and he could have shot
Yeah.
the cans. He could have shot the battle wagon. He shot my Wolf and Dread, which is a 130 point unit, because it was right next to his Dorn and it was getting onto the objective,
Mm-hmm.
and he annihilated it
He
because it's a
rightfully should have
Dorn.
died.
Yeah, he probably dies 99 out of 100 times there.
Mm-hmm.
And okay, I lost my 130 point unit. It didn't do anything. It feels really bad. but it saved your boys from getting shot. Your battle wagon was free, and your cans, although they got killed by the other Dorn, but
Yeah.
it it let your army not take the aggro there, which
Mhm.
was probably a positive.
Yeah. And
For a 240-point unit that is shooting there, and it kills a 130-point unit, yeah, okay, that's fine. Like it
yeah.
is what it is.
To be fair to he who must not be named until he appears on our podcast, his his unit got killed by like my 360 point unit.
Right.
So it wasn't like I traded up, but he took out a big, like, Bjorn's a big problem even
He
at
is a
his
big problem.
cost. So like he took out a big problem, and I used one of my higher point units to deal with Shalaxi. So
And he killed some of your boys, so it's not like he only got 190 points. He probably got like, 250, 300 points worth of kills out of it.
mhm.
Um, but yeah, Bjorn's a problem, and if Bjorn's not taken care of, he has that aura of 12 inches of you can't use your strats for, +1 cost or whatever. He is a problem if he's not dealt with. So they dealt with him. It makes sense that I don't think he expected 20 boys and a mech and a war boss to be able to kill Shalaxi in like a turn and a half.
Mhm.
But it happened, and it was a huge turning point for us. Like that was a big positive for us. I don't think he ever expected that to happen, though.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I think overall though, for like anybody playing the game, it's kind of a good New Year's resolution for the hobby is to just kind of focus on that rule of cool, play stuff
Right.
that you think is cool because you're just going to enjoy it a lot better when you're playing, and then focusing on the positives and just not taking things too seriously. Obviously, if you're playing in a tournament or something, everyone's going to have some pride over winning versus losing, and that's fine. But if you're playing casually with your game group or at your local game store, um, maybe try to just be a little bit more casual and have a good time with the hobby, because we see a lot of negative negativity about the game online, and it doesn't feel warranted in our
Yeah.
eyes. So enjoy the game a lot more, people.
Yeah, that takes us nicely to our last set of resolutions, the channel and content creation resolutions. And one of those things is we want to be a positive influence in the hobby. We want
Mm-hmm.
to spread positivity. We don't want to clickbait anybody into watching our videos because we're, trying to get the people that don't like GW to watch our videos. We love this game, and we love that we have a hobby group that we play with who also loves this game, and we're not going to get stuck up into all the hate for GW or 40K as a game system just for clicks. And
Mm-hmm.
we want to enjoy this thing. If you are playing something that you yourself are criticizing constantly, it makes you just not want to do it. You're not going to want to finish the hobby stuff, which is the main reason why we're doing this, right? I mean, the hobby stuff is kind of what draws us into the game, and the game is the cherry on top. We want to be a positive influence, and we kind of moving forward in the channel content creation, we want to be a positive influence, and whether that's just in our personal conversations, or if we do end up interacting with other communities and other channels, we still want to take that to heart. We want to be positive and interact positively, and try to help people love the game that we love. And I think that's going to be important for us in this 2025, this upcoming year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think anybody should take us as being like we're GW cheerleaders or something like that. It's not it at all. It's just like, why why should you let a company who produces a game that you love really dictate how much you do or do not enjoy the hobby? I
Yeah,
understand that they have influence over your hobby, and sometimes they can ruin things for you when the balanced data slate comes out or something like that. But it's just like when orcs when the orc codex came out, we were like on top of the world, and immediately in the next balanced data slate we got decimated. And I could have just focused on that, or I could have just quit the game entirely at that point in time. But instead it was just kind of like a challenge. It's like, okay, how can I be good in the new meta? And
right.
granted, a few of the things felt pretty bad, like my war boss not getting his extra attacks if he was embarked when I declared the law. But they've fixed those things, and it's just like you could focus on those things, or you could play the game and have fun.
Yeah,
Um,
we don't want to let a company or other content creators dictate our happiness. I think you give people too much power
mhm.
if you do that. And we are choosing that we want to enjoy this, and we choose that we want to have fun with our friends and enjoy the hobby. And I could have been very down about Grotmas because my detachment is poo poo. It's the worst detachment probably of all of them.
No, I don't think it's the worst, but it's
It's
not
close,
great.
but uh I loved Grotmas because I got to see all the other detachments come out, and I think it's a super positive thing in the community.
Hmm.
And okay, it's a joke. Oh, GW doesn't like Space Wolves or something like that. Whatever. But like,
It could be a funny
it's
joke.
okay.
Haha, they don't
It-
like Space Wolves.
as we cry, no, but like, it has given me fun in that I've been able to think about running Space Wolves in a totally different manner. So, like, building the list the week leading up to the 2v3 was a ton of fun. I was trying to come up with all sorts of combos. I was trying to come up with ways to utilize my detachment rule that I never really got to use. But I was trying to use find ways to use the stratagems that I have had access to. Things with like Terminators. There's some combos that I'd like to try at some point. I'm not going to give up on it. Like we were talking about the one combo, like you run Blood Claws with Ragnar with a Terminator. I think it's a battle leader or Wolfguard
Hmm.
battle leader or Wolfpack. Anyways, whatever. You run it with a Terminator Wolfpack battle leader and or Wolfguard, whatever. Who cares?
Keyword
Anyways,
soup unit.
it is a keyword soup unit because when it gets attached to the unit with Blood Claws and Ragnar, they all share keywords, so then they all get the Terminator keyword. And when they all get the Terminator keyword, they get to do their giant battle shock or a stratagem, which I didn't get to use in our game because I didn't have any Terminators on the board for most of the game.
Hmm.
But one of the stratagems that is supposed to be pretty good in that detachment is kind of it's like the Shadow and the Warp ability for Tyranids, but it's a bubble 6 inches away from a Terminator unit, which the Blood Claws turn into a Terminator unit with that combo. Within 6 inches of that unit, they have to make a battle shock test, and it's in your opponent's command phase. So when they're about to score an objective, you could be like battle shock everything, and then they don't have the objectives, and you could really mess with their primary points, which
Hmm.
is I think that's cool. That's a cool new way to interact with my opponent that I'm not used to.
Well,
And that'll be something that I'll think about in the future, but even though my detachment feels bad, I still am looking at combos, and I'm having fun looking at combos, trying to figure
mhm.
out how I can best utilize it.
Here's the thing about Grotmas. GW could have chosen just to not do the whole thing,
Yeah, true.
which is, we've talked about coming from Star Wars
Star Wars
Legion.
Legion.
They're doing a lot more now than they were, since we decided, like, all right, we need to move on from this game. Um, they just
But
wouldn't have ever done any sort of thing like that, and it's just like you need to look at the positives of you know, what is being produced for your favorite game.
yeah, it's constantly new content. It's constantly a changing meta, which keeps things fresh. I know some people don't like that because they feel like they need to go out and buy stuff constantly, but keeping the game fresh is exciting.
Yeah,
It makes your list building interesting.
you could be real poo poo on the balanced data slate, but they could have left it as the exact same balance as when the game first when 10th edition first came out and Eldari was on top. Eldari could still be on
Right.
top if they chose never to balance anything.
Exactly. Exactly. Yes, that's how old editions were. It was like every single codex that came out, they would make them the next best thing, and then the next codex would come out and they would be the next best thing. This is I know people don't like the constant changes, but if you want to have a balanced game, there are tweaks that need to be made pretty consistently, and this is this is the answer to that. They've gotten better at the formatting of the balanced data slate. Like they've gotten better at conveying the information. Like they've only gotten better while we've been in this edition, which is exciting for us because I understand we're new and we're very positive about them, and we're trying to be positive about them, based on our history of other games. But you know, we
Mhm.
want to recognize positive aspects of the hobby and spread
Yeah.
that as opposed to negativity. We don't always enjoy the negativity that we see and the clickbait and all that stuff. We want to be positive influences.
Yeah, on a personal level, I think me and you are both like we're kind of done dealing with other YouTube channels that basically tailor to the negative clickbait material,
Hmm.
and it's getting to the point where like we'll never like I don't think we'll have like super negative videos, but like we're actually considering doing videos in the future where we watch another YouTuber reacting negatively to the game and just like constructively criticize the video and just be like, this is not the way you guys should be reacting to the game. We hope you know.
Yeah, trying to just break down arguments and try to spin it in a way that's far less negative. Just trying to maybe understand where the person is trying, like what problems that they're having, and trying to convey that in a way that's constructive and not, against them personally, but just trying to tackle the arguments that are being presented, and try
Mm-hmm.
to, again, just be a positive influence and try to get people away from that negative mindset. We don't enjoy that, and I think it's something that is pretty prevalent in the 40K community, and we want to try to combat that.
Yeah. Like the people, I don't know how many videos I've seen like ragging on the Golden Demon and stuff like that. Granted,
Hmm.
we don't really have we don't have experience with the Golden Demon that they have, and I get it that it can be different when you're in it, but at the same time, we're going to be going to Adepticon again this year, and there's going to be hundreds of minis that are entered in to the Golden Demon there at Adepticon, and there's a reason there's
And all
hundreds of
those
people putting them in because people are passionate about it and they love doing it. Otherwise, they wouldn't spend all that time. And just like to rain on everybody's parade and like pee in their cup and stuff and be like, oh, you shouldn't enjoy this. This is stupid. It's rigged. And it's just like,
and
stop being so
90% of those
negative.
probably 90% of those people that are making those videos too are going to be putting something into Golden Demon.
Mm-hmm.
So they're like complaining about it, but they're probably still going to submit something into the competition.
Yeah.
So it is kind of just raining on other people's parade that, they're going to spend all this time to present something in this competition that they're very, very proud of. And then somebody comes over and says, you shouldn't be in this because it's rigged and all these other things. And it's just, I don't know.
Like the complaining about that is getting real stale. I'm really tired of seeing it. I'm probably just going to stop engaging with any of that content for my 2025 resolution. I'm going to stop engaging with the people who want to keep complaining about the rules format of Warhammer period, like any GW game period, complaining about the miniatures and stuff and talking about, oh, you should play miniature agnostic games because I'm selling a miniature agnostic rulebook and I want you to buy it, but I'm
Yeah.
guising it as I'm complaining about GW. Like I'm really getting sick of that content. It's like dude, like be instead of making the video crapping on a game that a lot of people love and there's new people getting into it every day and they're not getting into your thing, maybe it's because you don't have anything constructive on what's wrong with Games Workshop stuff, or you don't have anything positive on what the benefits are of the miniature agnostic game. Like you're not selling it if you're having trouble getting people into it. Um,
And
GW is not having any issues.
GW is not some, like, in our opinion. I'll put it in my opinion if you don't want to hold this opinion too. But GW is not this like evil entity that exists to screw over the hobbyist and screw over the gaming person and screw over all of its customers. They are people like you and me who love their job. They get to work for probably a company that they've always wanted to work for their entire life. They get to make a game that they probably loved when they were growing up, and they get to try to make a product that the people who are now growing up and people that are new like us that are going to be finding 40K, they're trying to give them the same kind of loving experience that they had when they were growing up into 40K. They're good people, most of them. I can't, obviously can't throw a huge blanket over that, but I would say that I would give them the benefit of the doubt and say that they're very good people and they want to make a game that people love. And I understand that as a company, they need to make money and they want to make a game that makes money, but like the people who work on it love the game. They want to make a very good game and they want people to enjoy it like they did, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like sometimes people don't recognize that. Like I see sometimes people are like, "Oh, GW accidentally did something good." And it's like, "No, they've been working hard. They've been trying to get better. They've consistently gotten better since we've been in the game." And I think that they just don't get they don't get enough credit online, which is unfortunate. And I
Mm-hmm.
understand where this rant is kind of going long about us trying to be positive in this community,
And we're
but
ranting while trying to
we're
be
kind of
positive.
ranting a little bit about it. But we are trying to. We want to be. We don't want to be negative. We want to try to kind of quiet that a little bit and try to bring a more positive spin to the hobby and the game and all the things that we enjoy.
Yeah, if I mean, we would love it if our community called us out. Like if we ever started getting to the point where it seemed like we were being ultra negative about the game and we weren't just being like good ambassadors of the game and just like people who make you feel like, oh, I want to play this game. Like if we ever give you the feeling of like, oh, this is like a weird change of heart by these guys, like call us out in the comments, because I don't ever want to be that way. I really hate uh channels and just like anyone who
They kind of lose their heart.
yeah, and they thrive off of like negativity and like hate content and stuff like that. I do not like it at
Yeah,
all.
this is a 2025 resolution, but it's also a forever resolution. We don't want to be that. We want to kind of make a declaration that this channel won't ever be like that. And
Like the
if we
play on
do,
guys, like we saw
they're
them at
awesome.
Adepticon. They seem like awesome guys, and they seem like they love the game. I've never heard a single one of those guys complain. They just love the game. They play it, and they don't poo poo on anything. They just have a good freaking time, and that's what we want to do.
Yes, awesome ambassadors to the game.
It's a
That's yeah.
great thing to emulate. Like if you're starting a channel, like emulate those guys. Those guys are sweet. I love those guys. They have a successful channel too. That is something
Yes,
people should emulate.
understatement.
Yeah.
They have a very successful channel. They're awesome. If you haven't checked them out, check them out. They're awesome.
Mm-hmm. So I think maybe the last thing we should talk about is just like,
Our channel.
yeah, our channel and content creation resolutions.
Yes.
So do you
Do you
want
want
to
to talk
lead?
about? Yeah. Okay. So we have been talking over the last few months since we've been kind of getting back to getting ready for this episode, and um, we talked about our schedule, our upload schedule, and we don't have one nailed down specifically. But the one resolution that we're setting forth is that we don't want to get burned out. And if we ever feel like we are getting burned out, we're going to pull back, and we're not
Mm-hmm.
going to go, as regular as we. I feel like I'm talking about going to the bathroom right now. We're not going to go as regular as maybe we have in the past, but we do want to try to stick to uh
Consistency.
consistency, not necessarily a strict schedule though, if that makes any sense. Like we're not promising weekly. We are going to maybe try every other week.
Or even once a month, you know.
Yeah, there might be some smaller projects on the side, and this will hopefully let us do those things. There's been a lot of comments that we've seen recently about shorts, and if we're not putting as much time trying to prep for these types of episodes, we'll maybe have more time to do some other content,
Mm-hmm.
and that could be the shorts and those types of things. So I think that you know official resolution. Let's not get burned out doing this. We want to do this because we love it. We have real jobs outside of this. This isn't our job, obviously, because we don't have that many subscribers.
We're not a successful YouTube channel like Play On.
Yeah, right. So
We're just a
we want
YouTube
to
channel.
have fun with this, just like we want to have fun with the hobby.
Mhm.
So that's the goal. Is we want to have fun, and if you guys are having fun with us, then that's great. We want you guys to have fun with us
Mhm. Yeah, I think like a consistent schedule. By that we mean just like we don't want to disappear on you for 3
for
months
3 months.
like
Yeah,
we did. Because we did post a lot of videos over like a 2 or 3 month period, and we are very consistent in that regard, I guess. Or
right.
what's the word
It
I'm
was like
looking
one or
for?
two videos a week.
Yeah, we were doing a lot, and it was like a regular upload schedule where it was like, here's a little clip from the
Mhm.
show on a Wednesday, and then on a Thursday we have the full length podcast, and it was just like we had stuff rolling out consistently, but um, we did get like burned out. It was like hard to keep producing that much. Like the clips aren't something I can just like get out like that. I have to actually edit the videos and stuff like that, and then work on the thumbnails and the descriptions, and we work
Right.
on adding the chapters and stuff, so it's easier for you guys to digest.
Yeah,
It's
that's a pet peeve of mine. If
mhm.
there's a video with no chapters, I usually don't watch it if it's long.
Yeah, so it's
So
like
I try to add those every time for you guys.
it's not a simple thing of doing, especially with us both working full-time jobs. And you know
You have a family,
I have 3 kids that occupy a crap ton of my time. um,
right?
3 amazing kids that occupy a lot of my time, and that that's understandable. We have an outside life, and if the channel ever got humongous and that's all we did,
Yeah, if
then
we grew and grew and we could dedicate more time to it, that
hmm
would be cool, right? But we're doing it on our time and on our dime, I guess, but not really. We're not paying for that much.
yeah, we're not
Um,
poor hammer level where we can have a Borelio that edits all of
right.
our stuff for us. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, it would be pretty cool. But
uh
like I think what we're like our main podcast, you can expect us to be consistent, but not necessarily as regular as what we were.
mhm.
There will probably be other content to go along with it to try to fill in some of the time that we are not filling with a regular podcast because they are time consuming each week to do like they were back in 2024. But like I think that if I know clips are a little bit harder to do, but if we can get some other smaller content, like I've been thinking about other, like this is something I wrote down earlier, but I would like to expand our content types.
Mhm.
Um, like we right now it's mostly talking heads, even though you guys don't see us. Um, but I would like to get into some other things, whether that's tutorials, battle reports. We tried to record a battle report a couple times actually. We kind of did this a couple times. Um,
It was kind of a
but
miserable failure.
it was a lot, and yeah, it kind of was a miserable failure. We kind of ran out of steam because it's just the two of us, and we didn't have good equipment, and it was like, we just want to get the games like over with, you know.
It
But
kind of,
like,
yeah, it made us appreciate the play on guys that much more, because
yes,
we were like getting, like, we knew what moves we wanted to do, but we needed to record something before we continued, and it was just like, oh, we got to do another take. That one wasn't
right,
good. And it was like, that game where you've been playing for 6 hours and you're on turn 2 and you're just like, all right, this
yeah,
isn't worth it.
yeah. So if we could do battle reports, I think it'd be cool if we can figure those out in a way that is digestible to the audience. I think that would be fun. Um, I would. I've talked about possibly doing like lore related videos, and whether that's we had the book report that we did on the Horus Heresy, Horus Rising.
Mm-hmm.
We kind of did a lore style video there, but if we could do like shorter style videos, I think that would be fun. Whether it's like both of us or if I was just doing them, I can spout about lore all the time because I love learning about the lore. It'd be fun to just kind of talk about that, and I could give my take on the lore or whatever. We could talk about the lore together, but shorter form videos about that. Or I've talked about possibly doing I would call this like hobby philosophy, like how you approach the hobby, like mindset stuff, like more psychology style breakdowns of like, we kind of talked about it a little bit with like, trying to not let competitiveness rule over the rule of cool. Like,
Mm-hmm.
don't let competitiveness win, and just doing a more short form video about that concept and kind of exploring that concept. Those videos would be fun, I think, to do too as like a short form filler and not the full podcast. So there are things that we would like to try. The shorts obviously are something that people have been asking from the other shorts that we've made. So I think those will be definitely something that we try to do. But expanding content types will let us not spend as much time doing these,
Mm-hmm.
but we could put together something that we are interested in or excited about, and it would take less time potentially, and
Yeah.
hopefully that would show in the recording.
Yeah, I think some other things too, where we could just like up our content value too, is just like, I don't know if we'll do this ever, but we've talked about it. We don't know. We still don't know if we'll do it, but like if we had an actual webcam so you guys could see our face, because I think it'd probably be more engaging if you could see us, but then we couldn't record in our pajamas. So, it's a catch 22 there. But
I'm not
then,
wearing pants currently.
yeah.
No, just kidding.
And then another thing, I've thought about, we haven't really talked about this, but maybe one day doing more like of a live stream, because we are basically
Yes,
equipped to start doing a live stream, and we have real estate on our view, for your guys' comments live, if we wanted to do that.
we
um
would love to do a live stream. I think that's the ultimate goal of this format, is kind of what we're building to. Is I think doing a live stream would be so much fun if we could interact with our
mhm.
community. That would be awesome.
Yeah, it's definitely something that we'd have to work up to, and it'd definitely be a little nerve wracking, but I think we would get used to it once we start doing it.
Yeah, I think that would be fun. We've been kind of spouting a bunch of different ideas on our channel. If you guys have any of those, any of the ideas that we've been giving, or if you have other ideas that you think that we should consider, if you want to hear us give any type of video type a try, or to cover any certain topic, let us know what you guys want to see in the comments, and
We'll try to bring
we
it
are
to
always
you.
interested. We're always interested to hear what like our community has to say, and we'll prioritize those things over anything else. So if you guys have something that you want to see from what we've been talking about, if you like any of those video styles that you would like us to try to tackle, let us know, and we'll kind of get a gauge of our community and what is in demand.
Yeah. And one more thing, channel related, that we keep talking about that we need to just frickin' do in 2025 is actually create a Discord.
Yes. Yeah. I think once we get some people who are regularly coming back and maybe some people that are interacting, we'll get that Discord set up and have a place that we can share hobby progress. We could share ideas and list ideas and just have conversations in there. I think that'd be a lot of fun if we could have a community that, you know, we have a Discord and we interact and we have a nice positive environment that people can kind of congregate in. And I just think that would be a lot of fun to interact with you guys.
Yeah, and even if it just starts out as our hobby group, it'll be great for us. We'll love that for ourselves.
Right.
But if other people want to get in on that, and be kind of part of our hobby group, this would be an opportunity for that. So I think that'd be kind of cool and expand the community. And um, we've talked about the positive things that we see in playing this game and how much joy it's given us. If we could share any bit of that with the rest of you, we would love to do that.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Well, do you have anything else you think, Brooke, before we wrap it up?
No, I think this was good. I think that we have a lot of stuff in here that will keep us motivated for 2025. I think 2024 was awesome. It got
Mm-hmm.
us into this, right? We we hit Adepticon at the beginning of the year, and it like basically that motivated us for probably the majority of the rest of the year, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we're planning on going to Adepticon this year again, which will be a lot of fun. But
Yeah, I think
um,
a future video here soon should be talking about what we're doing at Adepticon, since we kind of
yep,
hinted at that.
hmm
So that
yeah,
that could be something for you all to look forward to.
and who knows? Maybe we'll even see some of you folks at Adepticon. That'd be kind of cool if there was something like that at Adepticon. I'm not gonna lie, but
Yeah, we'll be at
uh,
the social media influencers meetup.
yeah,
No, I'm kidding.
we're gonna be hobnobbing with all the other people, and they'll be like, "Who the hell are you guys?"
Like, how don't you
Just-
know who we are? We're Inwarp Mag, duh.
yeah, I'll have a patch on my chest that says Inwarp Mag, and they'll still not have a clue who we are.
I'll have a giant boombox on my shoulder playing our theme songs that nobody knows, annoying the
Every
crap out of people.
variation of it.
Yeah, that'd be a fun time.
Yeah. So yeah, we we're looking forward to what transpires in the hobby and in 40K in general in 2025. It's gonna be an exciting year for me because I'll get my codex. I know it's an exciting year for Bill because he's getting his too.
Mm-hmm.
And I think our friend who's not to be named right now, he's getting his codex too. So it's gonna be a fun year. I think we have a lot of positive to look forward to, and I'm I'm happy we're in the hobby. Like I think
Mm-hmm.
you are the one that really pushed for 40K, and I'm really glad that we finally took the plunge. And building this podcast on top of that was a great choice because I really enjoyed talking about it, and I'm excited for 2025.
Yeah, those green boys, they were sitting on my shelf from back in the day from Kill Team, and they just sucked me back in. So, but yeah, we hope everybody had a happy holiday and a happy new year. And like Brooke said, we're really excited for 2025. It's going to be hopefully a good year for all of us and all of us in this hobby. And thank you for listening, and we hope you'll join us again for our next video.
Yeah, if you guys have any hobby resolutions, if you want to document them, put them in the comments. If you want to talk about your hobby resolutions down there,
Mm-hmm.
let's hear them. I want to hear what you guys have your hobby resolutions, what game resolutions that you have, and all the challenges that you are trying to overcome in 2025. And maybe at the end of 2025, you can come back and look and see what you've accomplished, and
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah,
you know,
let's keep
give
each
give
other
yourself
honest.
give yourself some motivation. So I'd like to hear from you guys what your resolutions are. Might give us some ideas too that we haven't talked about.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, this is getting a little long, and if you're still listening, we thank you for listening. And subscribe if you haven't already, and you're listening this far. And if you don't like what you're listening to, thanks for listening this long.
Yeah, thank you for the super long view time. We appreciate it.
All right. We'll catch you all later.
All right, guys. See you later.